intensity of the workout, which I believe is one of the most important things when it comes to training in general, but especially when you have like serious fat loss goals or serious muscle gain goals. Intensity is very important. Hey everybody, I'm Ethan.
And I'm Sean.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Vitamin E Show. Today is part 2 of our 3-part series on fat loss, and we're going to be covering some training protocol. Last week we covered cardio. We'll touch on a little bit of that, just incorporating with the training protocol we're going to discuss today. But mostly we're going to cover the training, get a little bit specific in there as far as, we're going to cover how to split up the workout, maximizing supersets, and rest intervals mainly. Kind of break that down, also kind of get specific per muscle group because it is different. Each muscle group responds differently to different things. So before we dive in, the main thing everyone complains about or has a fear of when focusing on fat loss, well, I want to gain size, I want to get big, or I don't want to lose muscle mass, that kind of thing. So it definitely can be done. You definitely can work out for fat loss and not lose muscle mass. Granted, it's very hard, and generally you do lose a little bit of muscle. If you're interested in how to, if you do need to pick one. If you want to, this is about optimizing for fat loss, so we're going to go that route. But if you are a little bit more scared of the muscle loss, you can do some of the like cyclical bulking that we talked about in our bulk video. But back to fat loss. The way that you train for optimal fat loss and not sacrifice the muscle is you want to use almost a HIIT style training with your weightlifting and still incorporate strength and hypertrophy movements with that. So step one, let's talk about how to split the workout up. So step one, you do want to, I still like to isolate the body groups, so 4 or 5 day split. I would prefer 5. Do you have a preference?
Typically either 4 or 5. Most of the times throughout the week I'm able to get in 4, and there's kind of that swing day that it would be beneficial. But
right. I mean, I do 6 personally, but it can be done with 5. I realize most people don't want to come 6 days a week. If you do, you can do it at 6, you can do it at 5, you can do it at 4. I would say no less than 4.
For sure.
But let's talk about a 5-day split because I really think that's optimal, and we're talking about optimal results here. So for like a 5-day split, you would want to do, you have your main muscle groups, you have your legs, chest, shoulders, back, and arms, okay? That's not everything you need to work though. So the way you would do it is you would want to work your arms into back and chest. So like do back and triceps and chest and biceps together, then shoulders, legs, and then you have a core. And I like to do like abs, traps, and calves again on that 5th day. But regarding however you split it up, you need to be doing lots of supersets. So, superset would be, of course, one exercise right after the other. But if you want to optimize that for getting a strength and hypertrophy in again, the first movement, do a compound movement. So let's just take shoulders, for instance. That would be like a military press, superset with a lateral raise. Simple movement. It's going to hit like only a couple muscle groups, the smaller muscle groups. Is the second exercise. The first exercise is that compound movement. It works all the joints involved in the movement and also all the muscles in the shoulder. And the first movement, just heavier weight, a little bit less reps. Not with shoulders, you don't want to go too low with reps, but that second movement is going to be more high volume, a little faster, more reps, lighter weight, that kind of thing. So best of both worlds. I'll talk a little bit more in detail about some of the muscle groups that I prefer, but I know your thing is legs. So, and I know everyone hates legs. So let's let you talk really quick about some training protocol on fat loss principles when you're talking about training legs and how to do that on leg day. And then we'll go from there on the other muscle groups, but let's just start off with legs, get that one out of the way.
So legs has always been one of those ones that kind of kept to itself. Like you said, like the back and arms. Having a 4-day split, arms are those things that I work into my back and bi days, and then the other days are kind of working a little bit more core exercises. But playing sports, kind of like to incorporate a lot more sport-specific type stuff, and that's what I'll use into my supersets with legs. So kind of mixing in a little bit of like agility, footwork stuff in between my sets to kind of keep my heart rate up and everything, while still working all of those big compound movements there. So.
What's key compound movements with legs? Squats, deadlifts, leg press.
My favorites have been the squats, deadlifts, leg press, and then like the hip thrusters, different things like that.
Clean and press. You wanted to get some Olympic moves.
Some of the Olympic ones.
A little bit more muscle groups there, but that would be even better for fat loss, a higher calorie burn. Again, when you're looking at fat loss, it does to a certain extent come down to calories in versus calories out. And those bigger compound movements, especially Olympic lifts, use a lot of energy, consume a lot of calories. So they're those are good movements to incorporate too. Just make sure you know what you're doing before you start messing around with too much weight.
Yeah.
But so for me, squats, supersetted. A squat is a compound movement, deadlifts compound movement, leg press is a compound movement. I pretty much do some form of those, whether it's front squats, back squats, whether it's an RDL, a traditional deadlift, whether it's machine leg press, whether it's I'm going to do iso leg press. There's tons of different ways you can swap it up to keep the muscles confused to a certain extent week to week. But some form of that compound movement, superset with. I do a lot of trisets with legs. So I do squats, calves, leg extension. I'm not a huge fan of leg extension, kind of rough on the knee, but you can do squats, calves, hamstring curls. You can do squats and stiff-legged deadlifts to work more of the glutes and posterior chain. There's tons of ways you can mix that up. That is really personal preference. Just always keep in mind, get that compound movement in first, simple movement after, no rest in between. And then for legs specifically, I generally recommend about 1.5 minute rest. Number one, it does get you, you're going to be out of breath a lot faster on legs. And also it's very important, proper form is very, 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 very important on any exercise, but especially legs. You're messing with a lot of delicate areas, the back and neck, and you want to make sure you're keeping proper form, and sometimes too little rest, people tend to get out of form a little bit. So legs, I like 1.30 minutes. Is that about what you do?
Yeah,
about 1.30 minutes. You can, I would say no more than probably 2 minutes when we're talking about optimized for fat loss, but about 1.30 minutes is probably good for most people. Now, favorite muscle group, shoulders. So, guys, every muscle group responds differently, rep ranges. So when we're talking about fat loss, you do want to do higher reps, but at the same time, you don't want to waste time doing higher reps on a muscle group that doesn't respond well to it, such as hamstrings or triceps. Triceps and hamstrings both respond best to about that 8 to 10 rep range just for hypertrophy and like muscle growth. And if you're doing a whole lot more reps than that, you're probably not doing enough weight to elicit muscle growth from those groups. Whereas with shoulders and quads, endurance muscles need much higher rep ranges to get the same benefit. So if you're following a training program and you're doing 3 sets of 12 on every muscle group, you're training wrong. You need to train for that muscle group. So hamstrings, like I said, hamstrings, triceps 8 to 10, back is about 12 to 15, chest is also about 12 to 15, shoulders generally about 15 to 20, and then traps, calves, and even abs are 20 plus. And if you follow those guidelines during those workouts, it's going to get the best result while still maintaining. If you're doing the supersets, you can still maintain the fat loss goal. So, for instance, with a higher rep range muscle group like shoulders, let's say again, go back to the military press and lateral raise. With lateral raise, 20, 25 reps each set. With the military press, maybe 15, heavier weight. You also got to take into effect the volume of that superset is going to create more muscle fiber recruitment as well. So lots of different benefits when you're doing the superset style training, not just for fat loss. So it could be used for overall hypertrophy anyway. I generally like to work out that way in general. But 1.30 minute rest on legs, back is generally, any other muscle group besides legs, I do about 60 seconds. I'm not aware of any benefit of resting longer than that on any other muscle group. Generally, just you're not as out of breath on any other muscle group. Something else I know that you're better at than me is core. So just so we can give some specific ideas, details about how to train the core properly. Like you talk about that for a minute, some ideas, what you do, what you like to do, get some suggestions on like some circuits people would do for core in order to keep this theme, the fat loss theme, rather than just coming in and doing some like decline sit-ups or the crunch machine, some typical stuff that people do. Give them some options people can do to mix it up, some movements that incorporate a lot of the abs, because I think a lot of part of the abs get missed a lot of times for most exercises.
Well, when it comes to that, like I said, I'd like to split those up throughout my other days there. Generally, lately I've been trying to work in core about 3 times a week there, just giving enough rest in between. But what I would generally try to do is work in, some type of static hold movement, some type of crunch type movement, a lower leg rate or lower core exercise like leg raises, things like that, and then some type of like rotational movement, like whether it be like the ab rotations or speaking more
Russian
on
twist
Russian twist, things like that. Kind of get a little bit more creative when it comes to like for fat loss purposes. Some of the things that I have really liked, my favorites have been like using like med ball slams, things like with the battle ropes, doing the slams from side to side, and supersetting that with one of the exercises that I'm doing, like whether it be like on my leg day or back or different days like that.
Like at the end of the workout?
Generally, I have sometimes have like a smaller circuit on the end, depending on what I am doing. Like I said, with the leg days, kind of are a lot more worn out, a lot more focused on those lifts during
larger
the time.
muscle group too, so more to focus on in a leg workout.
And with most of the compound movements in legs, your core is a huge component of those exercises. So that would be a day where I might get like a circuit at the end, just like a quick one would be just like kind of doing a crunch circuit that I like to do 10 reps at each one. So 10 crunches, 10 twist one side, 10 twist to the other, and then 10 leg reaches or toe touches. Just kind of keeping it up that way.
Just to be clear though, core is not the most important body group to train for a tight core.
For sure.
Everyone comes in and want to do core for an hour to shrink their stomach. That's not how it works. It's one of the smallest muscle groups. That is not going to produce a lot of calorie burn versus working a big muscle group like legs and back, those 2 largest muscle groups. So,
which is why I would like to incorporate other, more strenuous movements like the slams or the twist with the battle ropes, things that are going to really keep my heart rate up and everything,
and activate more muscle at the same time. Because
exactly.
like when you're using the battle ropes, your whole arms engaged, your shoulders engaged, your back's engaged. You got a ton of engage with the battle ropes and the ball slams too. When you're doing them controlled, and also again back to that mental preparedness. A lot of people just pick up the ball and throw it down. I mean, like you want to focus on actually contracting the abdominals and slam when you're doing abs ball slams.
I know another favorite, the burpee. Really good exercise for like those lower abs, being able to pull your legs up under you. But it's very, very, very strenuous when it comes to cardio.
Right.
So
lots of big movement. I mean, the whole movement is a long movement too. I mean, to do a full burpee in proper form, I mean, probably 3 to 5 seconds, depending on how fast you are, and how good shape you're in, how tall you are. All that kind of stuff comes into play. But a longer movement. Again, leg movements are also longer movements again while they use up more energy. But rest timing. When you're doing core, I do less rest. I do generally keep it about 30 seconds, just because core gets used so much when you do everything. Like you said, it's a really big part of the legs, a big part of pretty much any workout you do. To hold proper form, you're engaging your core, so they do get used a lot, and they can take more. More volume. So generally keep the rest down and more reps there with them when I do core. So 30 seconds there, 1.5 minutes on legs. Pretty much every other muscle group I follow about a 60-second rest in between supersets.
That'll be something where, like, when I'm using core as a superset exercise, with that, usually as soon as I'm done with that core exercise, it pop right back up and into the next one. And that's giving me plenty of time to rest for that.
Catch your breath.
But like I said, I don't need any more rest for core, and that's another way to keep my workouts time efficient.
Right.
Hit multiple goals at once.
Right. That's another benefit of the supersets. You can get more in a short amount of time instead of dragging the workout out, for 2 hours. Is what it might take to cover all the muscle groups in the leg, versus if you do a lot of supersets, get that in a lot faster. Last thing I want to talk about is intensity of the workout, which I believe is one of the most important things when it comes to training in general, but especially when you have like serious fat loss goals or serious muscle gain goals. Intensity is very important. And a really simple test for intensity, if you can chat it up in between while you're doing your sets, it's you're not working hard enough. It's a talk test, real simple. Coaches use it all the time. If you're a client and you're bitching at your coach about how this is hard and I can't do it, well, you're talking to me, so it's not that hard yet. So I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to talk when you're resting. You should catch your breath when you're resting and be able to speak again. But you should not be able to carry on a conversation in the middle of the lift. So from exercise 1 to exercise 2 should be boom, boom, focused, intensity. You should be pushing muscle failure at the end of each rep. And if you're not using an appropriate amount of weight. Obviously, I understand. I think this is where people get confused. If let's just, for a particular exercise, again, I'm going to use the same superset, military press, lat raise. If on that military press, you can do 40 pounds for 12 reps, but that was really, really difficult, and you say, well, I can't do that for 4 sets, so I'm going to start at 30. Wrong. Start at 40, push yourself to the 12 to failure, try to do 40 again. If you only get to 8 reps next time, then drop weight to 30. Put them down, pick them up, and get right back and get those 4 reps out. Or if you've got another in the tank, keep going. But you should be pushing for failure on every set. No matter if it goes over your rep ranges, you pick too light of a fucking weight. You need to do more weight and you get to hit the failure point. And the same thing, if you go too heavy and you can't get the right amount of weights, then just drop the weight and keep going. I think people use that as more of an excuse. When you really cut all the bullshit out and really get down to actually training, the weight should be challenging. You should be pushing muscle failure at the end of each set, not just on the last couple of sets. And the only movements I would advise against that would be like leg extensions, because that's a lot of pressure on the knee. You should never be using enough weight on leg extensions to hit failure ever, unless you're hitting failure at like 100 reps. But beyond that movement, everything else you should be hitting muscle failure on just about every set.
Yeah,
so
to kind of sum that up, that's the short answer to the question that one of the most often the questions that I hear most often is, hey, what weight should I be working with?
Right.
Like, what should I do? Well, you should be able to get about 85 to 90% of the whatever amount of reps that you set for yourself done, and then it should be tough. Then it's okay to fail on the last 2.
Preferably a training partner to help you through those last couple.
Yeah. If you're failing, early on and you still got 6 reps to go, hey man, that's probably too heavy weight.
Right.
If you can get through and you feel like you could have done 5 more, then
way too light.
Too light.
Way too light. If you feel like you could do 5 more.
Exactly. So short answer to that question there.
Yeah, and also just from talking about muscle failure, is a big difference in muscle failure and just too much pump to where you can't get any more. Again, that's going to be a result of using too light a weight. So it needs to be actual neurological failure, not just so much pump that you can't move the muscles anymore. And that's using the right amount of weight. If you got way more reps each set than you're supposed to be getting, it's not really going to be a muscle failure rep. Just the acid overload in the muscles is going to make you fail. So, rest intervals, split the routine, timing. Oh, timing of workouts. We get asked a lot about like what's the best time to exercise. The answer I really believe is whatever works best for you. So if I tell you to work out at 5:30 in the morning, you're probably not going to do it unless you're someone that just works for your schedule. You really want to do it. You're a super morning person. But in general speaking, morning times, all your fat burning hormones and your muscle building hormones are at their highest in the morning. However, if you're not a morning person, don't try to make that a routine unless you're really, really committed to doing it, because it's going to be really hard to change your lifestyle for exercise. So work it into your current schedule. So if it's evening, it's evening. If it's morning, it's mornings. And as far as incorporating the cardio we discussed afterwards, you can do the HIIT training right after your workout. Only about 10 to 15 minutes is all it would take to get really good fat loss benefits of HIIT training post-workout. Or you can do morning cardio like I do. I do fasted cardio in the morning and do a lift in the afternoon. So whatever works best for your schedule, whatever you have time for, whatever you want to make time for, I should say. And then that's the real answer for timing of workouts.
Yeah, like we said last week, it's the bird that knows itself best that gets the worm.
Right. Next week we're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to get pretty detailed about what you should be eating, kind of cover different meals and timing of those meals around the workouts, how to optimize that for fat loss too, kind of manipulating the insulin hormone with your food. Really excited about that one. That's going to be a good one, guys. Did we cover everything?
Yeah, they
Got
got everything.
Yeah, cool. All right, so that's part 2. Next week's going to be part 3, nutrition. We'll see you next week.